Hi guys. Today I want to talk to you about how to get yourself out of spiraling. Um, this is something like where slowly things start to stack up and get to a point where things feel like they're just getting worse and worse and worse. And for me personally, I start to feel overwhelmed and it makes more things pile on because I let other things slip behind and I don't talk to people about it because I can be a perfectionist, and so I get myself into this mess and I'm not communicating with anybody, and it makes me feel or look and feel untrustworthy when in reality I'm not trying to do that. I'm just can't even function, right? um, that's That's what my spirals have historically looked like, and I can trace them back as far as fourth grade. But there were moments that I know led up to that, moments that I remember from my childhood where it all kind of started, and it really created this anxiety. Um, as I would spiral, I would get more anxious because I would be missing more things, and it fed on itself. If you guys can relate to this, again, I used to have them be as long as a year, and the most recent one I had was a week and a half. So I'm very proud of myself, even though that they're not fully gone and I thought that they were. I'm very proud of myself for being able to shorten that amount of time. And I'm coming on here today to help teach you how to also shorten that amount of time that you're spiraling and help you put the brakes on and bring it back to going the right direction, because this spiral, it can feel like a train that is stuck on reverse, and we need to not like all at once stop, but what we need to do is kind of like gently press on the brake. That's one of the first tips that I'm going to give you when it comes to this, is if you found yourself in a spiral and you have a long list of like things that you need to do, you need to take things like a little bit at a time, as much as you can handle and manage without getting overwhelmed again. That's so pivotal, right? Like, it's so important that we do organize ourselves, but that we're also flexible and honest with ourselves in the timelines. All of these things are pivotal, but you just need to make sure that you're not adding any new stress, and you are giving yourself ample time to like work yourself back in and have grace for yourself. This is not all going to get fixed in a day, but what we're trying to do is little things each day that can make us better, that can take us back into a positive momentum. Once again, you also need to remember sometimes spirals are just a very deep dip, and maybe an even bigger wave is on the other side of that dip, right? And oftentimes it is. So I don't even know what I was going to say with that. Hold on. It's just about the ebb and flow of life. That's something that you need to keep in mind. And really the first way that you can even kind of get started and even considering getting yourself out of this spiral, is that you need to remember that it can't be there forever. It can't be in this low point forever. There has to be an incline. And if you can take responsibility for that incline, it will happen much faster. Okay, so I have a few angles that I just want to go over. I have 3 separate angles that we can take in grounding our body. And grounding our body, grounding in general. To ground in general, that is how we really cure our spiral, right? We have to take our mind that's just racing and all over the place, and we need to let it pause for a moment and clean up piece by piece and look at what was made with this mess that we've created and see, you know, what is it trying to tell us, firstly? What is it trying to tell us? And where is the beauty within what we've done, right? And that's all about presence and grounding and authenticity and honesty with oneself and vulnerability, and being able to like rip off the mask, really, and rip off the VR headset and remember kind of what's real and not like what we're supposed to believe or how we think things should be. So for our first method of grounding, we're using angle 1, which is grounding through the body. There's a lot of methods of grounding through the body, or just through different grounding techniques. As a yoga teacher, I definitely always recommend yoga. There's multiple limbs of yoga, and the physical practice is just one of them. That's the one that we'll discuss now, of course, with the grounding through the body. But that physical practice is called asana in yoga. And I'm not even going to go over all of the scientific reasons why yoga is so great for the mind and grounding. That's something you can go definitely search on your own. But what I want to talk about is really personal experience, in that I've never had something before that's allowed me to really separate my thoughts and have control of my thoughts in a way that I haven't before. I mean, never found something before. I've never been able to have that kind of control and the ability to stop myself from spiraling. I mean, again, that's sometimes when I also notice that I'm spiraling more is when I'm not practicing as much, because yoga really has kind of served as almost like a medication for me. I don't take 5 ants any longer, but when I practice yoga daily, I'm able to separate the thoughts in my mind similarly to when I am on Vyvanse, right? So I highly recommend it because it allows you to pull yourself out of the clouds, or even maybe pull yourself above them to a point where you can actually see the reality of what is. Again, that's what grounding is about, is seeing everything for what it truly is. Another way to ground through the body is cold water. Whenever I find that I'm lacking motivation, back when that was a really, really big issue, I did a lot of research. And when I say research, I mean just like I always like get really into depth with like finding different studies and things like that, especially when I'm interested in them. So of course, at your own discernment, look into all these things. But I did research, and I was watching a podcast specifically about this with Andrew Huberman, and he was talking about how basically you can increase your dopamine levels by I think it was 200% with 15 minutes of cold water exposure, of like straight exposure. And I'm not obviously doing it exactly that way, but to hear that this increase in dopamine was sustained as well over the time of the day, there was real scientific backing suggesting that, these cold water moments could help us with our dopamine levels, which is directly related to motivation. Okay, so take a moment to dip your face in the water. What I like to do is, again, like take a cold shower, and you can start by doing hot showers and doing a little bit of a cold shower at the end if you want to make this like a more frequent daily thing for whenever you shower, or you can just hop in the shower, get in the cold water kind of as a way to wake you up, and it's almost like a cup of coffee. The last part that I'd like to say in regards to grounding through the body is different breathing techniques. So, like box breathing, which is the inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. That's said to be used with government officials, like not officials, but like either it's like Navy SEALs or something like that, in order to calm their nervous system. So let's actually look that up. Let's make sure. Is box breathing used by SEALs? Let's see if that's legit. Is box breathing used by Navy SEALs? Yes, it is. Okay. So square breathing. It's absolutely used by Navy SEALs and other high performance individuals, especially in high stress environments, because it helps calm the nervous system, regulate breath and heart rate, improve focus and presence, and manage panic or anxiety. This is actually something that some yoga teachers do use mid-practice. So inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. And if you can kind of go in that cycle, that square breathing, it can help you with that, managing the panic or anxiety and improving your focus, presence, motivation, all those things. So that's all like kind of ways that we can use our body to ground, be more present, to pull ourselves out of this slump, and to kind of launch ourselves back into motivation, right? So this is like kind of I'm kind of going more to mind, but this kind of can go through the body as well, I guess, because it is the senses. A really great grounding technique that I have found is the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. And what that is basically is you take a moment to use all of your senses in order to kind of bring yourself more into the present. So you start with 5 things you can see. So you would say like the bed, the blinds, a chair, whatever. 4 things you can touch, and you kind of just and I usually actually like to say 4 things I can feel. So you kind of can just sit here and pay attention to the sense of touch. And what is it can you feel? Can you feel the shoes on your feet? Can you feel the weight of gravity? All these different things. Think about 4 things you can feel. 3 things you can hear. 2 things you can smell. And 1 thing you can taste. That one's always like, my tongue. But anyway, it does help you kind of bring yourself back into your body. So yeah, I feel like that should be in the grounding through the body as well. Next angle is a thought interrupt or a pattern shift. So a good thing that someone once said was that if you don't interrupt the spiral, it keeps building momentum, right? And another way that we can try to interrupt the spiral is to kind of snap ourselves out of it. I don't know, and sometimes, that feels like impossible to access, but it's like when you feel yourself being like, this isn't what I should be doing, if you can try and give yourself the push to be like, then don't be doing it. It's like, instead of going into the regular pattern of woe is me, well, this isn't what I should be doing, but I'm just going to do it one more day. Those types of things, once you can kind of get yourself out of that, even once it interrupts the pattern, change your environment. When you're feeling that you're doing this or you're feeling this way, maybe go touch some grass, bro. Like maybe go let the sun shine on you for a little while, and mix up your routine a little bit instead of just continuously remaining in the same environment and repeating the same cycles. And then the last thing would be to grab a journal. So this is, again, kind of the thought interruption, but also grounding in that it's like, I think my best way of journaling when this type of thing is going on is to just like get my thoughts out. Like, what am I thinking? It could be words, it can be like literal mush, but if you can get it all out and make it easily understood by you, or that will allow it to be more easily understood by you if you can kind of get out everything that you're thinking about. Sorry, I'm getting distracted because I can't hear. Okay, sorry. My mind can easily get distracted, which is why we have to do these practices in general. But yeah, I like to grab a journal and I like to just like write out everything I'm thinking, scribble, like draw, whatever comes out, because sometimes it's like there's too much and you need to, instead of continuously taking in information, you need to start getting it out basically and creating. So the last part that I wanted to talk about was faith-based. So when I start spiraling, I like to stop and ask, what am I trying to be told? What does my higher power want me to remember right now? What needs to be learned? What can I receive more fully? And if you can start going into that perspective, right? Into kind of seeing it in a hindsight perspective, but while it's happening, right? They always say hindsight is 20/20, but if we can access that somehow in the now and realize, one, we are just the observer and these things are going to slowly get better over time. Once again, kind of agreeing with that ebb and flow, that faith, that optimism. But also there is purpose in everything that happens to me. Every single thing so far that's happened to me, that felt like a setback, was honestly like way more frequently like a soft redirection into a place that I was supposed to be going. So yeah, like try and remember and have gratitude for these lessons, because at the end of the day, these lessons are things that are preventing us from even bigger maybe mistakes or misalignments in the future. So trying to pull yourself into gratitude, right? Thanking yourself for the things that you are doing right. Trying to remind yourself not always and constantly of what we're doing wrong, because when we're spiraling, of course, a lot of the time we start, we just can't stop thinking about everything that we do wrong. So if you can take a moment to kind of think about what you are doing right, pull yourself into gratitude for yourself and also for just everything that you're blessed to have around you, like that you still have, recognizing that you're living in and with the blessings that you have prayed for, right? Like I've prayed for my son to be healthy, or for this house, or for me to be able to afford food, all these different things. And I'm living in those blessings, and I don't want to forget that even as I wait for more, right? And then saying or praying out loud, like what you're thinking, what you're asking for, what you need. I mean, it truly helps. I don't know, it really just doesn't matter what you believe in. It helps if you believe in anything or if you don't. I think just even bringing words to it, and if you can come up with the right questions, you always get the answers, but it's really about finding the right questions. So just saying this out loud alone is helpful for you, but prayer, it is answered, it is answered. I know, you've all had experiences where prayers were answered. And again, I can't always explain why they're not when they aren't, but we have all had answered prayers, right? And if we can lean into that and you know, really find what it is that we're trying to pray for in general. What is it that we're needing? Is it clarity? Not just the thing, but like, what is the tool that we need to get there? If we can find a way to pray for that, a lot of the time those prayers are answered. And then one more thing that's kind of a faith-based tool is like affirmation. So again, kind of repeating over and over to yourself what you want to believe and what you do believe, and really just cultivating this inner knowing that sustains through everything in order to guide you through whatever it is that you're dealing with, right? So those are just a few ways that I use to help myself out of a spiral or like a very quick downward momentum, where I feel like I'm kind of going back on progress that's already been made. So I hope some of these things have been helpful for you. And if you are here, I'm definitely sending you all my love and just energy to help you get through whatever it is that you are going through. But just remember your power. Just remember who you are. Remember the great things about yourself. That's when you pull yourself into that gratitude, just really lean into that. What is it that truly is aligned with you, and really sit down and think, what isn't aligned with me? And each thing that you can get out of your life that isn't aligned with you brings you closer to that alignment with that soul version of you, the higher self. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm hoping you guys like this style of video. It is a little different, but again, I'm trying to move into a direction where, yes, I share what's going on, and I will for a little while, because that's the foundation of this channel. That's why I'm sharing all that information. But I really want to get into a space where the most important thing is I'm providing you with helpful, useful information. So this is the first of many with that intention specifically. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your night.